Hi guys, Matt here with another shootout. This time I'm doing preamps, and I've got my faithful little MXL 990 here. It's my good little benchmark mic, and I'm going to be testing 5 different preamps. 2 of them are interfaces with preamps in them, and 3 of them are basically just preamps. 2 of those preamps have different ways that you can run them, with your output and everything, so I'm going to test those as well. And yeah, let's begin. So first up we have the Golden Age Projects Pre-73. It's the original one, not one of the ones that came later. It's got a couple of different controls on it, and at the moment I've got it set to quite a low output and the preamp's set quite high, and I'm curious to know how that sounds different to when you do the opposite. According to Gap, they say that you're gonna get a different sound, and I'm curious to know if it actually does. I haven't played around with this much yet, I've only just got it, so what I'm gonna do now is flick the switches and see how different it sounds, so let's see. Okay, so now what I've done, I've turned the output right up and I've turned the preamp down, and this is how it sounds. I don't really know. I can't hear it too much in my ears. It's probably more noticeable when you play it through some decent speakers or headphones, not these basic headphones that I've got on at the moment. But yeah, generally I'm loving the sound of this thing. I've only just got hold of it, so haven't had much chance to play around with it, but definitely loving it so far. Let's go to the next preamp. Okay, so now we're running through the Mbox 2. Nice old school piece of gear right here, but it does the job. It was my main preamp in my vocal booth for a while. I've got some other gear out in the studio. Yeah, this little sucker has been my mainstay, and was doing all right until the Golden Age turned up. But yeah, I don't mind it too much, but it's a little bit harsh, I find. But anyway, just basically running it through that. I don't have anything, nothing's padded, everything's just set as per normal. I've got a slight rumbling down low that I'm hearing in my ears. Not even sure what that is. Could be just the preamp, or maybe somebody's parked a truck outside, who knows. Anyway, let's cut to the next preamp. Okay, so now we're listening to the Focusrite Scarlett 18i6. It's the standard preamp built into the interface. Yeah, good little unit. I really don't mind it at all. And it didn't cost me a heck of a lot of money either, which is a good thing. Yeah, but in terms of the offering, pretty good. I think it's the same preamps they offer all the way from their 2-channel models right up in that particular range. Some people are a bit critical of them, but I tend to find they're quite good, and they usually rate pretty well if you're looking around for a budget interface with a decent preamp built into it. Okay, so let's have a listen now. We're going to go to a slightly different model that isn't too well known, but let's have a listen to this next one. Okay, so this is the Pro Audio PR8. It's not the PR8E, or I think there's another model as well. It's even bigger, two rack unit one. It's just the stock standard original. It served me pretty well over the years. I've only ever really used it to track drum kits and that sort of thing, but I was curious to know how it stacked up with, voice work, vocals, and so I thought, why not? We'll throw it into the shootout, we'll see how it goes. From memory, they're fairly clean preamps. There's nothing too exciting about them, possibly a little brittle, but they do the job, and it's honestly not bad gear, the Pro Audio gear. As I've mentioned in one of my other shootouts, the MC01 microphone is really a fantastic little mic for $100, and to be honest, I probably prefer it over this thing, but this is my benchmark mic, so I may as well keep using it. Anyway, let's go to the last preamp. We'll check this one out. Right, lastly we have the Art DPS II preamp. It's a 2-channel. It's got a tube in it, so the signal gets run through the tube depending on how you switch it up. At the moment I'm just running it through a little bit. It's got the gain button in, which kind of pushes a bit of signal through the tube. It's the standard tube at the moment. I've got another one ready to go in. It arrived today. I think it's a tongue sole. It's meant to be a bit tastier than the standard Chinese tube, so we'll test that once I've chucked it in. And yeah, I honestly don't mind it. It's a great little preamp. It's got digital outputs and a few different functions and all sorts of variable switching and stuff, which I don't tend to use as much, but I've used it for a variety of things, instruments and vocals over the years, and yeah, it usually comes through all right. I'm going to go now and I'll switch on the warm setting on the preamp, and run it at about the same level if I can, and we'll just see how that affects it. With the standard tube, I don't know how it's going to go. It's not a great sounding tube, but let's go find out. And this is with the warm button pressed in. I've adjusted the gain down a little bit because once you hit the warm button, it pumps the gain right up. I'm not sure it sounds warmer. It definitely sounds kind of punchier and almost distorted. But warmth, not so sure. But I'm keen to try the tongue sole tube in there. I'm going to go install that right now. Fingers crossed I don't break something. I think it's pretty straightforward. And then I'll finish up this shootout with the new tube in there, and we'll see how that sounds. Here we go. Okay, so here we are with the new tube. It wasn't too hard to install. I was a little nervous, but it was okay. It's a tongue sole. I was right. I guess that's how you say it. I got it for about $30 on eBay, which is pretty cheap, and you can already hear the difference. So it's definitely a worthwhile investment and upgrade for this particular preamp. This is on the standard setting with just the gain button in, so it's pushing a little bit of signal into the tube. I'm going to go now and I'm going to switch it over to the warm setting, and that'll really test it. So we should be able to hear it a lot more there. So let me go do that now. And there it is with the warm setting switched on. That's the warm vocal setting. And there's a lot more signal getting driven through that tube, and it's definitely a lot smoother than the standard Chinese tube that was in there. So if you've got a unit like this, if you've got this particular one or any of these sorts of units, I know you can do it with the Behringers. There's a few cheaper units that come with the cheaper Chinese tubes. Pay the $30 on eBay, get hold of that other tube like the tongue sole and chuck it in there. It's really not too hard. My 2-year-old's going off in the background. He likes to talk just like his daddy. Anyway, so yeah, really impressed with that upgrade, and I'm curious to know how it stacks up against the Gap Pre-73, because that being my new hero preamp. I'm curious to know how they go side by side. I won't really know until I have a listen later on. One other thing that I was curious to know was whether any of these preamps can lift this budget MXL 990 up into a bit more of a pro sound. I guess time will tell. I need to have a listen on a decent system. Have a listen. You guys let me know your thoughts. I'll work out my own conclusions. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if the different sounds, the tubes or the high, more high-end gear like the Gap Pre-73, whether they can kind of lift it up there a bit and make it make it shine a little more. Definitely leave your comments below. Curious to know your thoughts. I did it as much for me as I did it for you guys, but definitely let me know your thoughts. And I'm always keen to check out more gear, so if anybody wants to throw any at me to review, I'm here, I'm willing, I'm able. Anyway, that's it for now. Bye.